I went from being a social media addict to using social media the right way, and I want to teach you that because I still use YouTube more in an educational way, but the way I want to talk to you about my story is, I was using a bunch of other apps. So the way I was using social media in the past was like where I was using it. So during my first year, one of my friends said to me, I should use Instagram for, to share photos. And I was like, cool. But this was like around my freshman year of high school. But at that time, I wasn't using it like what I did the next 2 years. But, like one thing I did was, I just took it casually. I wasn't like scrolling yet. I was just looking at like my own posts and just sharing a bunch of random things. So the first year I was using it, I wasn't like using it like crazy, but I was still having a lot of fun. However, like as the second year went by, I was starting to increase it more. So like my art teacher said to me like that she wanted me to create an Instagram, and at that time I had a Snapchat account, but she said she wanted to use specifically Instagram, and I asked her like, why do you want Instagram? Like I can literally show you the art like by itself. I mean, people have done it in the past so many times at school, like especially with artwork. And she says, oh, she doesn't want, she wants it to be more like about the judge. She doesn't want it to be like crazy judgmental, but like, I don't know. I don't see that as really efficient. Sure, it's the rules, but again, like that's really kind of odd. It's almost like, oh, you're forced to use social media because that's how it is nowadays. But social media is a choice, when you think about it. Like, I've never lost my motivation with YouTube, but of course I'll talk about that more in another video. So that my first year of using it wasn't so bad, but the second year with the art teacher, that's when I started using it, and I kind of got obsessed about it as time went by, and I started posting my own personal stuff instead of random photos. And then, the third year I was using it more frequently again because I was like posting about certain things, and I was, engaging, followers, I was trying to follow for follow, and it did work, but, it was stressful because I was messaging so many people, whether it's like around my school area or around like, the community and things like that, like, people my age, I was doing that follow for follow, like around, kids, around other high school students my town, or even like, older college students. I was doing this like around my sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school. Like I was doing this, and I was getting recognition, but I realized, like these are not people that I see. Like now this is when I felt like I was addicted to social media, when it came to like trying to post and impress others, but I didn't need to prove anything, but I did it anyway, This is where the whole addiction comes in. And I was, and it is true that I wasn't really scrolling too much, but I was using it for, followers, likes, comments, like for pleasure. Like I wasn't doing it for money, so it kind of feels like a waste of time, even if it is just for pleasure. Because that's the thing about social media. Like social media itself isn't necessarily the central figure of evil, but it can be evil, but sometimes that's the whole consumer behavior, that's what makes a big difference. Like us humans are viewing social media, and these are our reactions. As time went by, like I was using it like during my second to fourth year, I was using it like constantly, like almost daily, and it was stressful, and I didn't know why I was doing that. I wasn't scrolling like crazy, but I was still using social media a lot, probably like a third, well not a third, but more like maybe like 1/6, maybe like 4 hours a day, just engaging with people's posts just to get more followers. And I realized like what am I doing? But what's important to me now is like the way I see it, like I have no regrets of quitting it because I realized that I was only doing it for followers and competing just for followers. Like that's kind of like there's no purpose. Like I don't understand. But at that time I was just really just doing it for pleasure, like no other reason. Like I was trying to follow like people from around the country my age, and yeah, I mean I was like, it was a real, yeah, it was strange, my behavior on social media. Like, and of course this is specifically Instagram. So I didn't tell you, like I had Snapchat and TikTok, then I was using it for pleasure, but not for a crazy following, but just, you know, I was just talking to a bunch of random people, like, and of course they're gonna block me, you know, I mean, and I was like, oh my god, like, yeah, I realized that, you know, this isn't normal, like, this is not normal. I understand, like, social media is about community, but I feel like one big thing about social media when it comes to connections is that, you know, if you don't know them, and, you know, there's a lot of strangers, and if you don't know them personally, like, whether it's based on interest, it might be, a lot of people are going to be cautious about that, like, because they don't know them, you know? So it's almost like you build that connection if it's someone, you know, I feel like it's more effective to get to know someone in person when you first meet them, not from social media, because it's a lot harder to, you know, communicate directly. So around my 4th to 5th year, which the 5th year is the end, like I was trying to, you know, grow my content, you know, based on my followers and audience, but I realized, you know, it felt more like fake. I wasn't buying followers, but I was like, you know, trying to do follow for follow around, you know, around the country, and it started to get boring, and as time went by, it got a little toxic, and I kind of got a little upset, you know, when I saw people posting things I didn't want to see, and that's when I realized my brain was like, that's it, I give up, I'm not doing this anymore, because I'm just doing it for pleasure, and, you know, the numbers, because the way my brain handles it, it's more like a numbers game. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like my brain thinks so much about the numbers, followers, likes, engagement, messages, and all that stuff. Like, yeah, it's really, yeah, my brain feels pretty odd with those kinds of things, especially when it's analytics. So I realized, you know, this is not important to me. Like, numbers is not important to me. Like, I don't care. Like, now I don't care about how many views I get on my YouTube channel. I don't care about how many subscribers I get, you know, daily on my YouTube or other things, you know. And, you know, like social media is really about patience. If, you know, if you're going to make money on it, like, it's not going to last weeks. It might take you much longer, months, even years, depending on what you're doing. But my lesson here is, you know, I just want to tell you how I quit social media. So how did I do it? So my brain got more toxic, you know, as time went by, and the way I was viewing it, my reactions got a little angry, and when I quit, I was tempted to use Instagram or Snapchat or even TikTok again, but you know, now it's a lot easier. But you know, if you're one of those people who wants to quit social media but doesn't know how to, like, you know, if you're doing it for pleasure and nothing else, like my biggest advice is, like, you know, just ask yourself, like, what is your purpose of using social media? Because that's kind of what helped me understand. Like, I realized that numbers on social media don't matter. They don't. Because, yeah, the way our brains play it is like, it can be toxic and really hurt our reputation based on, you know, who we are as people. Like, you know, I feel like, you know, you shouldn't just be good on social media. You should also be good in real life, like when you interact with people, you know. So overall, you know, for me now, like, it's a lot easier to not even think of tempting to go back on Instagram or Snapchat, because I have no regrets of quitting it, because yeah, it took a while. It took around 5 years, yeah. And since then, I've been doing a lot better. I've been only using YouTube, and yeah, overall, I will share you way more videos in the future, and I promise you I'll be posting 1 to 3 times per day. 1 to 3 times per week for these videos, and I hope you enjoy it, and please subscribe and share it to anyone who wants to understand my story, because I will be talking a lot more about these kinds of topics. So I appreciate you to hit that sub button, and also like and comment and subscribe, and hope you all have a good day.